Hey, welcome to the First Layer. This is our Sunday live stream, Ask for Help. This is your chance to ask for help with your 3D printing problems.
Yeah, only your 3D printing problems. We can't solve your other problems. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right. As
Wait,
always,
no, I shouldn't say that. Maybe we can. Maybe we can.
With me is that guy who keeps interrupting me, Brian Baker.
That's me.
And me.
And Jerry is over there.
Yes, and Jerry too.
Doing our chat today. She is monitoring. We do have a new moderator in our chat today. I haven't told him about it, but I made him a moderator. That is our good friend Tim from DeWitt 3D Canada. He is now a moderator, and we are going to jump into the questions. But first, we want to talk about a couple things. How many people saw this week's video that are in the chat today? If you saw this week's video, just give us a thumbs up or a hell yeah or that sort of thing.
Is that what we're doing? Hell yeah!
Hell yeah!
That takes us back a few years.
We're going to talk a little bit about Matter 3D, some new colors that are out. We're going to talk to you about your problems, and we've got one that came in through email. But before we get to that, I want to remind you guys that if you are in our members group over on the First Layer, then I would encourage you to send me your address with your phone number if you are out of the country, out of Canada. If you're in the States, I need your phone number. We would like to send you one of our brand new stickers, which I don't have down here. I showed it off during our live stream. So if you are a member, you have a sticker coming your way, so long as you send me your address. So you can send it to questions@thefirstlayer.com and just put in the subject matter address. And I will, of course, compare your name to our list of people, and then we will get you out a sticker. They're going out. I even bought envelopes. See? I bought envelopes.
I've got shipping boxes downstairs, but yeah, shipping it in Canada is kind of expensive. So we're probably spending about $3 to send you a $1 sticker.
About that.
Yeah. Welcome to Canada, guys.
Welcome, everybody. I'm going to do this really quickly because we got some new members. We're up to 35 members now. Thank you very much to our members, and we appreciate all of you, and we appreciate all of you that are subscribed as well, because that goes a long way to helping us out. Now, let's get to the first question real quick. This is from LB Sharp, who is one of our community members and is also one of our followers here on YouTube. He says, I have a CR-10S with direct drive kit BL Touch using Marlin 1.1X and have tried several attempts to upgrade to 2.x. I've watched your video several times, but it always has several errors when trying to compile using Arduino. The only reason I want to upgrade is so that I can use the Big Tree Tech sensor. I'm going to hand this one over to Brian because he's already worked with the sensor and he's had more experience with Marlin 2.x.
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit of a kind of off-schedule video that I worked on this week. If you haven't heard, Marlin 2.0.8 was just released with a plethora of bug fixes and lots of features being added. So I had one of my machines I had to go and change a couple set points on, and I decided now might be a good chance to upgrade them right up to this latest version. But I realized no one's really covered how to cleanly migrate version to version. So I've been shooting a video just yesterday, actually, and I'm going to bring up just kind of the end part of the video here. So hopefully you can see my my recording here of where we're trying to build for the Big Tree SKR Pro. I have the audio muted of what I was talking about because I was babbling a bit here. But what you need to see is that it is perfectly normal within Visual Studio Code. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, my video quality dropped again on you guys. But it's going to go and give you can see a bunch of errors pop up in red there when I compile. So unfortunately, I'm sorry that it's not super clear on you, but what I do is I scroll up to the top of the code and I look for the first red line, and usually it's under a sanity check. Now, a sanity check is built into Marlin to try and help you identify what is misconfigured. So in this case, The error that came up was error, only enable restore leveling after G28 or enable leveling after G28, but not both. So I knew because I had enabled both of these, because enable leveling after G28 is actually a new setting, I didn't realize they would conflict because there was nothing in the description to say otherwise. So I had to go and change that out, basically, so that it met that requirement. So we searched it up, we go ahead and comment out the one we don't want, and then we recompile. And this is the process of compiling Marlin when you have bugs, is to go through and read the errors. But in a code compiling space, what you have to understand is code compiles in a straight line. There's a certain order in which it compiles. And if it finds an error, sometimes it will try and compile past that error. And that's when you get all these errors. So even though it might say 51, and back in the days of C++, it used to be you remove one error and you get 28 more. What it is those are all cascaded errors from your first error. So you need to scroll to the top of your compilation. That's why this terminal window at the bottom is here, so you can go through and find an error. And we can see on this one, I'm actually getting a lot of warnings. Now, warnings will allow you to compile and put it on your printer, but it may be critical to the operation. And we can see eventually we did get some red errors on this compile here. So basically, it's just going back and forth and reading the errors and adjusting the values. So again, the key is start from the top, go find your first red line, and read the number. And sometimes they're very clear, sometimes they can be a little cryptic. But generally, the problem here is you're moving from Marlin 1 to Marlin 2, and they are a huge, the whole structure of it's changed. So what I would recommend is get Marlin 2.0 and start with a base config for your machine. I believe, did he say it was a CR-10S?
Yes.
Yeah, so for the CR-10S, I'll see if we can pull this site up here real quick. I didn't even think to have it up here for us. But, where is it here? If we go to Marlin GitHub on Google here, it'll take us right to the main Marlin group. And under Marlin firmware, I believe there's another level above this here called configurations. So you'll find it under github.com/Marlin firmware/configurations. I'm going to post that in the chat for you guys to go to. But if you go into config and go into examples, it has example configs for every company, every printer, and it's all community maintained. So if you have a CR-10S, you'll make your way into the CR-10S folder, and even within there, they have different ones for board configurations. We got Creality V1, we got an SKR Pro 1.2, SKR Mini E32, and an SKR Turbo 1.4 Turbo 2209. So if we just go into the Turbo one, for example, you'll see we have 4 files here. Configuration.h, configurationadvanced.h, _bootscreen.h, _statusscreen.h. You just have to download these 4 files and overwrite the ones in your Marlin 2 folder, and you're almost ready to go. If that is your exact configuration, then it should just work right on the machine. Otherwise, you're going to have to add the features on, such as the BL Touch or any other bed leveling mechanisms. But that's what I usually do if I have to make a major version change, is I just go to the website and check out basically that feature. Hopefully, I know it's a little bit detailed there, but just watch for it. It might surprisingly pop up this week if I have enough time to edit it here. So stay tuned for that.
Okay, so we got a super chat from Henry Stofferin, and he has a quick question. He says,
super chat.
Got that direct drive ×2, will need help to set up going on the CR-10S and the Ender 5 Plus. I'm
Cool.
sure we
Henry,
can help you with that. Not during the scope of our 1 hour, but Henry, you can reach out to me during the week. Tuesday is probably the best day to get a hold of me. So you can reach out on Tuesday, and I'll spend some time with you and walk you through that. All right, that should be that. There's 2 other questions.
And Henry, did you get yourself the Micro Swiss one? Just curious, because there's a lot of different direct drives available. Yeah, the Micro Swiss, I've heard lots of very good things about that.
So here's a question from Chad Wilcox. He says, I just went for a ride on my motorcycle. I live in Michigan, and I'd like to print some accessories for it, like phone mount, water bottle holder. Which material would work best? Well, you've got 2 materials to really choose from, depending on the printer that you're using. If you're using an open air printer like a Creality CR-10 Ender 3, anything like that, I would suggest PETG. It's going to last. It's got a little bit of flexibility to it. So if you dump your bike, hopefully you don't, they're not going to snap very easily. And if you're going down the highway at 60 miles per hour, the wind isn't going to shear them off. So I would definitely take a look at PETG. If you can, you can also go to ABS if you've got an enclosure. You can print them out of ABS as well, which will be a nice, tough plastic. You're going to find that a lot of the plastic parts on your bike are probably ABS or an ABS derivative. So that's something to take into account. And
bear in mind, too, the reason we don't talk about PLA for outdoors is because PLA does deteriorate under UV light, and the heating up of the sun actually will cause it to deform in many cases. Even up here in Alberta, when it's, for our American friends, around 45, 50 degrees Fahrenheit Celsius, we're talking under 10 degrees Celsius here, we have seen PLA deform just from the UV radiation, not so much the ambient air temperatures. So if you're doing anything outdoors, I would highly recommend avoiding all PLAs and going for something stronger. ABS for sure is the de facto because that's been outdoor products. PETG is pretty good. I would more select PETG based off printing criteria and, as Richard said, a flexibility tolerance.
You bet.
No kidding. Going down the highway on your motorcycle with your nice phone mount, and all of a sudden, boop, it's on the
phone goes
ground.
flying away.
Hey, so I saw a comment up here earlier from Dominic Vercetto saying, looks like filament prices are rising. My favorite filament, Coax LLC, has raised PLA by $4 per kilo. Wow, that's crazy. The reason I wanted to bring that one up is because we've got some great news for you guys today. Matter 3D, we have worked in a way to have the price reduced a little bit for you.
Yep.
And for today only.
Only till midnight.
Only till midnight, okay? No minimum order, so you got to get on this fast. Use TFL5 to get an additional 5% off the new or lower price. And I think you'll find it's very competitively priced. I didn't realize till I went on Amazon last night that almost all the cheap brands I used to buy for $22 a kilo are almost over $30 on Prime right now. We're not talking Marketplace. Everything's jumping up for that. So we wanted to share this deal with you guys right now because I can't remember the number I calculated out to last night. I think it came just under $27 Canadian.
Wow.
A reel right now if you buy it through the website with that code. So please go check it out. Load up, and they've got some filament bundle deals, I believe, in there too. But they also do bigger reels now too.
Speaking of Matter 3D, you want to go to matter3d.com to get that special price, and at checkout put in TFL5 to get an additional 5% off. And check these out, kiddies. I got to open it. Let me open it. Don't you just love that sound?
Oh, right.
Oh, that's so satisfying.
That's one thing I do. I do love ripping open those plastic packages. Okay, here's trivia question for the day while Richard opens this up, guys. How do you open up your plastic packages? For me, once in a while I get mad and I take my pair of calipers and I just jab the bugger in the middle, and it's very satisfying.
So this is their new red PLA. For anybody that is looking at alternative colors to what they were offering, which was black, white, natural, and then gray. Now they've added red, and this is a gorgeous red. Absolutely beautiful, nice, deep red color. And
thanks to you that responded to the surveys about color choices, because you influenced that choice.
And I'll do like Brian does. I'm going to take my scissors, though.
Oh, yeah.
Jab to center. And then rip. Oh, I love that
Makes you feel like the Hulk for like 5 seconds. They just...
All right.
You two are just like 5-year-olds.
We are. And there is their blue. Look how gorgeous that blue is.
Ooh, that is nice.
That is a beautiful blue. So
put those colors side by side on camera. I want to see the color contrast. Oh, it's...
Oh, yeah. We can do that.
Look at that. That is as pure tone as you can get.
Now, if you put the white in there, you've got red, white, and blue for our American friends.
Hey, there you go.
There we go.
Is that something you guys down south would like to see? Is a red, white, and blue a patriotic pack there?
We can make it happen. We can make almost anything happen.
We can maybe make it happen. No, for us, we just need red and white. But if you guys want a 3-pack with blue.
So here's a question from Peter Reynolds, our friend here in Calgary. He says, so I was making something in PETG, hot end temperature 215, bed temperature 70, and I was getting warping around the edges. Any suggestions? Yes. Up your temperature on your PETG. You are printing kind of low. You should be printing up in that 235, 240, 245 range. Yeah,
the bed itself, it's not so much a bed adhesion issue, and I can prove it because my machine behind me right now is running PETG with a 60-degree bed. The key with PETG is as follows. Number one, hot nozzle, as hot as yours is designed for. So if you have a Bowden tube set up and you don't have an all-metal hot end, be careful going above 240.
Absolutely.
Number two, disable your fans. Disable your part cooling fan.
Yes,
don't disable the hot end fan. Because PETG is a lot more like ABS in its properties. Namely, it needs to cool slowly to prevent warping, whereas PLA has to be cooled rapidly to prevent warping. So PETG, you have to print slower, you have to print hotter, and you have to print without your part cooler there.
Yeah.
If you are having bed adhesion issues, then maybe bump up the bed temp a bit, but 70 is usually good for most. We only get into the 80, 90-degree range when we do ABS.
That's for sure. There's another question there from Ricky B. Jerry's going to pull it up. There we go. He says, updated my Ender 3 Pro to 32-bit and BL Touch, having problems with calibrating bed nozzle offset and updating firmware. Which firmware first are you using? What board are you using? That can make a huge difference. Mm-hmm. And your offset will be done after you've got the new firmware updated. So if you can just, Ricky, you want to send me an email about this to questions at the first layer and just mark it question from Sunday live stream. I will do my best to get back to you very early on. He says it's the board 4.2.7. Is that the Creality board? I believe it is.
That is the Creality board. So what I'll do for you guys, and let me know in the chat, just give me a thumbs up or something like that to give me motivation here. But, this video I was just showing you there, I just have to do some kind of like intro, outro for that there and just crop out a lot of my random chatting in there because it's 38 minutes right now. But if that's something you guys want to see this week, if you are looking at upgrading your firmware in any fashion and you want to see the process of migrating versions plus the compilation process and an all-in-one video, give me a big thumbs up in the chat there right now and I will dump that midweek as a surprise for you. Hey, Peter.
We got a super chat from Peter. And thank you very much for the $5. It's always helpful.
One of these days we're gonna have to do like a harmonization of the three of us doing that and have it as a voice recording or something. Yeah.
Super chat. So we've got DeWitt 3D Canada, our good friend Tim. He says, so for PETG, can you get away with no part cooling fan for the entire print? Yes, you
Material
can.
Dependent, yes, and that's what I'm doing right now behind me. So basically, I had a print that was giving me a lot of headaches with PLA. I decided to move it over to PETG, but I didn't want to reslice it. So what I did, I kid you not, and this is why I have quick disconnects on my printer, I just unplugged the part cooling fans. So even though it's governing it to run, I just unplugged it so there was no concerns there. I bumped up my temperatures manually, and it is, about 18 to 22 hours in right now with a 0.8 nozzle, and it's about probably 8 inches up into the print there, and it's fine. There's no warping. There's no bowing. There's a little bit of stringing, but I'm okay with the cleaning up the stringing in that case.
And we have another one from Dean Hines. He says, I have designed my own weed eater blades and plan on printing nylon. I have the Micro Swiss all metal hot end. And what advice would you give me for my Ender 3 V2? Okay. If you're going to print nylon, you really need to have an enclosure. So having an enclosure is paramount. Make sure that you've changed your settings in the firmware so that you can get up to that higher temperature. Because I believe right now on your printer, the E3 V2, you are only able to go to 265 max. So if you want to get a little bit more out of that, I would say that you need to absolutely go ahead and go into the firmware and just change it from 275, which it's set at max. Remember, there's a buffer built in there. That's why you're only getting 265 max. Is bump that up another 15 degrees, and that'll bring you to 275, which should be enough headroom for you to print nylon. All right. Oh, geez, I let that one go. Can you bring that one back up, Jerry?
Which one?
The one that you just put up. And I don't know who it was from. I think, there it is. Yep. From Dominic Versetto. He says, I've heard that Marlin Z offset wizard had some inconsistency issues. Is that fixed in the newest Marlin? I do not know. I have not looked at the latest version of Marlin. I know there was some offset issues with the previous version. Now it's had an official update. I think it's 2.08 now is the latest edition, or maybe it's even higher than that. But I will check into that for you, Dominic, and we'll discuss that later on in the week. What do we got next? Okay, from the Mega Whatever. I love that name, by the way. Hello, I am really excited about the new Voron 2.4 build video and future videos. I was wondering what build size you're going with. Also, how are you sourcing the parts? Okay, this is the fun part. I'm doing the 300 millimeter build, so it's 300 cubed by the time it's done, and I'm sourcing my parts all over the place. I got my rails from Masumi direct. I've ordered parts from AliExpress. I've ordered parts from Amazon. I've ordered parts from Robot Dig, so I'm kind of all over the place as to where I'm sourcing them. But there is a sourcing guide. If you follow the link at the bottom of that video, there's a link to the Voron.com or the Voron project. And you can get to the sourcing guide by going through help. And it will take you to the sourcing guide, and it'll show you exactly where you can buy everything. Oh, speaking of the Voron, for those of you that are interested, this is the hot end that I'm going with right now. This is a V6, E3D V6 Genuine. Now, this is one I've had around for a long time, so this is the one that I'm going to go with. And at the end of the day, this was the perfect hot end for me at this time. I will probably upgrade to the E3, or pardon me, the Dragon. As soon as they've got all the legal issues sorted out, I'll probably upgrade to a Dragon. And I will change out the nozzle, the heat brake. On this one, I'll change out the heat brake, the nozzle, and the block, because I want to be able to go to higher temperatures with this until I go to a new hot end. But that's the hot end that we'll be going with in our Voron build.
Sorry, when I stepped away here, did we cover the Mega Whatevers question here?
Yeah, I just did. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, what I was going to say, too, just to contribute into mine, I am breaking all the rules with the Voron build, so I am using it for inspiration for my build, so we're going to see both sides of things. But primarily, primarily we are trying to go by the books for our first build for you guys, and then we're doing our own sourcing for nuts and bolts. But if that's, especially if you're domestic or in the Calgary area, we've got some stuff coming up for availability on that.
Yeah. DeWitt, go back to DeWitt. I missed that DeWitt one. We haven't talked about that.
Oh, talking about with the warpage? Yeah.
Yeah. I wasted a third of a roll of new blue PETG and 18 hours of print time due to warpage with the fan at 30%. I'll try again with no fan for the entire print. Great. Yes, you really need to have no fan, especially in your basement where it's a little bit cooler.
Yeah, and even with me, I mean, PETG, remember the temperatures that are on the roll are always just kind of like a recommended based off what they know. And for me, I'm running my PETG at 255 right now. and that just seems to be where it's running buttery, even though the roll says it's only for 200 to 230. So remember, your machine may vary, and this is why we push temperature towers for every roll of filament you have. Just like if you were to do a linear advance calculation, you should always do a temp tower, because then you're going to know how that material is going to respond with your machine, with your slicer settings, in your specific environment. And you know what? I know it seems like a nuisance. It's going to be 2 to 3 hours sometimes, but you know, you're going to save that 2 to 3 hours, just like Tim just said. Lost 18 hours and at a minimum $10 to $15 of material. So guys, just do the work up front, dial your machine in.
Okay, let's go to the next one. This is from Robert954. He says, just tried upgrading to Marlin 2.0.8. Lost access to media SD card. No media board. BTT SKR Mini E3 V2. Yeah,
I was trying to remember the Mini E3 V2 is an STM32. So for those of you who have the boards like the SKR 1.3 and 1.4, where they have an LPC chip, there's a line of code under Config Advanced that you have to set to define where the SD card is. But for the STM32s, I don't believe there's alternative options in the firmware by default on that one. Maybe you can tell us, Robert, were you running 2.0.72 and it was running fine with those exact same settings, or did something change? Or was it an older version? Because there are a lot of factors that change version to version. Just for you guys to be aware, this video that I'm now officially looking at the list here, I'm going to drop midweek as a little extra one here, is going from 2.0.7.2, and instead of just hacking around the config version at the top so it'll compile, how to go through line by line and compare the differences and transfer your old settings to a new default config.
And Robert says yes.
Yes.
Okay, what's next, Jerry?
That's all I got.
That's all you got?
Yeah, everyone's sleeping in today. It's
everyone's just talking about your Voron build.
Yeah, we're having a lot of fun with that, actually.
We are.
Last night I started my build, and so whereas Richard went to the suppliers and got all the right materials and stuff, I was sitting on a lot of material I already had, whether it's 2020, 2040, 4040s, and all that. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to look at this design, I'm going to read the measurements, understand what it's all about, and then I'm going to adapt it to a non-approved size of this build, but I'm also going to make it stronger in the reinforcements. So I got the base frame put together last night. I don't have any photos, unfortunately, but as we move forward, I'm going to look at things like I've got a bunch of MGM 12H rails instead of 9Hs. So let's see what happens when I try to modify it to work with that. So it'll kind of be like a post-mortem, if you will, after our how to build it by definition. And we've already decided the machine's name is called Kill Me Now. So we're gonna roll with it and see what happens. And then hopefully at the end you can make your decision of, hey, can I play with this a little bit, or should I just stick to what's proven and working?
Yeah, and that's something that you want to make sure of when you're building a Voron, especially if it's your first one. Brian's going to wait to see what kind of mistakes that we're going to run into.
Oh, no, I'm trying to get ahead of you. You just had the right supplier connections.
Ben saying Richard will finish first.
Richard always finishes first.
Boy, that can be taken a whole lot
That's
of
not
ways.
always good.
No.
When we get into larger sizes of Vorons, I get this question a lot right now, and can I do a 500 by 500, a 400 by 400, a 1,000 by 1,000? And I'm seeing a lot of people talking about that in the chat right now. And to be perfectly honest with you, my understanding from the Voron development crew is that going over that 350, for every 50 millimeters of build volume that you add, you're adding 200 millimeters of belt, and belt stretches over time. So you're going to run into issues. That's why I think if we go something over 350, like to a 400 or even a 500 or even 1,000, We are going to have to look into an alternative method for raising and lowering that gantry, so that we're not. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that's where my experiment is at, is see how much it impacts it, right? So that, I mean, as I said, I have the parts on hand, and I have a 500 by 500 bed, but I had a meter of extrusion. So what I'm looking at, just so you guys are fully in the loop, is if the belts have too much flex, what would it look like at 500 millimeters, right? And then if that works fine, that gives me half a meter of storage space above the printer that's built right into the frame to host filament reels and different things like that. So that's what we're experimenting right now, is can we turn the printer into kind of like an enclosed ecosystem?
Yeah,
So,
we'll definitely try that. Radmaster saying he just started printing parts for his Voron 2.4 build and buying parts. Great, good to hear. So keep in touch and make sure that you continue to watch our program, because each week we're going to try and do it a week of Voron, a week of something else, a week of Voron, a week of something else. I want to talk a little bit about belts. This is a cheap, no name, like there's not even a name on this belt in this meter plus length. This is cheap belt that you can buy just about anywhere. It does stretch over time. There's no internal webbing. It's just a rubber GT2 belt. Now, when we get into proper belts, and I have some over here. Here we go. When we get into the proper belts, if you're going to be buying this, you want to buy authentic GT2 belt. And there's a reason for that, and I'm going to show you. So if we look at this belt, we can see that there is
kind of
red fabric
that
is embedded. And this actually has a name on it, and it is right there. This is Genuine Gates Power Grip Belt. It's written right there. Okay? Whereas this stuff does not. No matter where I go in that length, there's nothing there. But at the end of the day, when you look at it, when you look at the two sides of this belt, or the two different belts, the one with the red fabric embedded into it is going to be much stronger than your typical cheap Chinese belt that you can buy. So make sure that when you're doing your Voron build, that you are buying the right material, because all of this has been spec'd and tested by the Voron development team. So like I said in the first video, this is the best printer you cannot buy.
Yeah, and it's just because, you're buying quality parts. At the end of the day, just like buying a vehicle, buying a computer, any of these things, if you buy it all in one package, you're going to get what they were able to negotiate at the cheapest price point for the biggest volume, right? That's how you can get a pre-built computer with a GTX, 3070 for almost less price sometimes than buying a 3070 off the shelf, because they are usually a cheaper grade mass purchase. And extreme example, but still, that's the point. So, next time you're going and looking at parts and trying to fix your printer, just remember, however much you spend, you're getting what you pay for. So when you buy Gates belts, and I think I saw a comment there saying that their Ender 3 came with a Gates belt there. If you get a good quality belt, that's the core part of your kinematics of your machine. So, things like layer shifting or wobble, sometimes that can go away by having a good belt that's tensioned at the correct ratio. If you've ever over-tensioned your belt, at best case scenario, all you've done is stretch it a bit, but many times I'll find it actually starts bending, and that will actually mess with your kinematics of your machines. So belts are not expensive, guys. Spend the good money, and if you need to on a weekend, buy the Amazon special, but for proactive planning, buy the better stuff.
You bet. See, this is from Dominic. It says, it seems that every PLA temp tower I print results in 190 to 200 being the best temp. I've checked that the temps change with each tower segment. Thoughts? Well, it could be the environment that your printer is in. Now, what brand are you using? Or are you using many different brands? Because you're going to see it skew one way or the other with the brand that you may be using. If you're using Sunlu or East Sun or any other Amazon Basics, they're all going to be different. So from a temperature tower standpoint, it's going to depend more on the brand than it is on the different roles that you're printing temp towers for.
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes they all will come in that range, to be honest with you. I mean, PLA is a pretty tolerant material, you'll find, honestly, and that's why they use it for 3D printing, is because it doesn't really matter. There's a huge deadband on where the temperatures work, and unless they have a bunch of additives in their filament, it should generally come in the same temperature range. Usually what impacts that, as I just said, was the additives, as well to the based resin that they use. So when we talk about Matter 3D, they don't use Ingeo 4043, they use a higher quality one. Unfortunately, it's just slipped in my head right now which exact one it was, but the reason they select this resin is it's higher strength, and that's why you have to print it at a hotter temperature than most PLAs in the market. It doesn't mean there's something modified about it, it just means basically it's closer to a PET G, but it's still a PLA material. So theirs was a 3D 850 resin. So that's from NatureWorks there, and that's definitely a higher grade than the 4043D others use.
Yes, definitely. We've got a question here from Pab TV. Any recommendations for a resin printer? I would. The Sonic Mini is a good one. Sonic Mini 4K is a good one. That is from Phrozen, by the way. I do like the Creality one. The Creality LD-002R is the newest one. That's a very good printer as well. There's Elegoo Mars or Elegoo Saturn. There's a lot of great brands out there. I personally own the Phrozen and Creality LD-002R, which is their first generation, and I really like it. It works great.
Honestly, nowadays in the resin market, because it did change a lot, do not buy a printer unless it's the deal of the century or it's got a mono screen, because the mono screen is really going to speed up your printing times and increase the life of your screen. Yep. The original ones that came out, like Anycubic Photon, the original Elegoo Mars, they came with basically traditional TV style screens in there, which weren't designed with that for that much light penetration. So they wear down over time, but they were cheaper than sin. But if you're looking today, when I was looking a couple weekends ago, there was a sale on the Elegoo Mars 2 for I think $249 Canadian there, and that came with the mono screen. Hands down, that would be what I would buy. Just because curing times drop on average from about 12 to 15 seconds to 2 seconds per layer. So many parts, taller than this thumb drive, you can have out of that machine in under 2 hours. So that's just my big caveat right now with how things are changing. Unfortunately, in the big machines, we're talking beyond the Saturn size, 13, 14-inch displays. They are not yet coming with monochrome screens. So if you're looking for that size, you may be stuck with the LCD technology.
And there's a question here. Skyrim. I checked my baby stepping in Marlin, but it does not give me the option on screen. Well, if you've unchecked it in Marlin, it's not going to show up on your screen.
Well, no. If you've enabled it though,
if you've enabled it, it should.
There has to be there's another setting under the baby stepping area that says double click to access baby stepping, and that's probably what you want to look for. Is give you the ability to double tap the menu button to quick jump into the baby stepping, and unless you turn on another setting, it will only show up once it's printing. So just keep that in mind. Whenever you're enabling these features, be sure to read through that section of code and understand what all those parameters are. That it's very valuable in having, and it's much better to understand, how it's integrated, things like the integrated ISR and all that. I think I briefly glance over it in this big ramble on video there, but just read those settings, please.
Yeah. There's a question here from Pierre. Oh, my wife missed the Pierre one, but
okay, I'll come.
Okay, we'll do this question here first. The Mega Whatever. My most recent printer purchase, the Ender 3 V2, sounds like the nozzle fan blades are eating themselves on startup. I've completely disassembled the head, no strings. Have a suggestion for 24-volt fan replacement? Absolutely. When you're shopping for a replacement fan, be sure to get a ball-bearing fan. Do not get a sleeve-bearing fan. Get a ball-bearing fan. It's going to be quieter. It's going to move a little bit more air as well, and it's going to last longer. Okay?
So when I'm speccing fans, because I do a lot of electronics work and stuff too, DigiKey is kind of my go-to now because they have $8 next day shipping for practically everything in there. What you want to look at when it comes to fan noise, fans are actually rated in dBm, which is a form of volume. And what a lot of people don't realize is a single point increase of dB is actually equal to a 3 times effective volume increase. So the difference between 24 and 27 dBm is actually quite significant. It's almost 27 times quieter based off the amplitude ratios there. So I like Sunons because they are good ball bearing fans. They have a lot of airflow, and that's the one thing. The reason why we don't usually recommend Noctuas is because part of the reason they're so quiet is they actually they effectively drop the voltage by about 10 to 15% for a lower RPM speed. But as a result, you have lower static pressure and you have lower airflow. And as you know, if you don't have enough good airflow, you will get clogs in your heat break because the heat will exceed how it can cool. So take a look up Sunon, SUNON, on DigiKey, and then spec it out for a 24 volt, the right measurements, and then sort by the dBm and just kind of compare the dBm with the CFM, which is the cubic feet per minute ratio. So you want to find a balance between lots of airflow but not overly loud. And I think even you'll find if it's 27, 28 dB on here, it's still extremely quiet. It's more of a whirring sound than a hum.
Yes. We got a question here from Pierre that Jerry sort of missed, but that's okay. He says, Voron printer will use what for bed leveling? Now, it uses an inductive sensor. So it is sensing the metal of the actual bed. So that's something to keep in mind. You can put a BL Touch into it. If you listen to the Voron development team and you go on to their Discord, you will find out why they don't use a BL Touch. It's a little different setup because they do have a Z limit switch, which goes at the back of the bed, but they also have the inductive sensor just for probing the bed. That's all it's for. And in the setup, I just happen to have the carriage here that holds that sensor, and that sensor sits right in here. And on the BOM, or the BOM, bill of materials, they tell you exactly what sensor to get, and you can get that sensor off of AliExpress for $4. Like, it's really cheap. But at the end of the day, that's the sensor that they recommend, so that's the sensor I'm going to be going with.
Yeah, I might try to modify mine into a BL Touch, I won't lie.
Thank you both. You're welcome. You're welcome. Any other questions, Jerry? Nope.
Oh, hey, I do have a clarification, just finding out the code on matter3d.com is TFL5 with an exclamation point at the end.
Oh, okay. So we'll have to adjust that.
Sorry about that, guys. Yeah.
Ben says the reason that why they don't use the BL Touch is because the BL Touch doesn't operate reliably in an enclosed printer that's hotter than 50C. I've
makes sense because those BL Touch pins are really soft, guys. I break them off all the time. I won't lie to you. I really shouldn't be breaking them as often as I do, but it does happen. So yeah, we're gonna have to. I'll look into some probe options there and see what we can get there. You know, honestly, when it comes to actual inductive probes, TH3D has a very good easy ABL Pro there that was very well spec'd out. I just don't like inductive probes in general. So I might have to look down that route.
So Tim from DeWitt, he says, two-part question. One, what's the most difficult part of the Voron to source? And two, what's the most expensive part of the Voron build?
That's a great question.
Yeah, as far as expense goes, I think you're going to find that your fasteners are probably going to be a big expense depending on where you get them. The bed definitely is a big expense because you have to get a Canovo heater, you have to get the aluminum plate, and you can't just use any aluminum. You have to use a tooling aluminum because it's already been heat treated and it doesn't change like the beds that we have on most of our printers. It doesn't change nearly as much. Now,
yeah.
That being said,
go ahead.
The most difficult part to source for me right now is that bed, the actual aluminum. I'm trying to find it in Canada. I can't. Everything else I can get, no problem, including the DIN rails. I can get all that, no problem. It's the bed itself in Canada seems to be like a unicorn. I've tried one of the places in the States, and they don't ship to Canada. I'm going to try another source, but my bed is going to probably run me about $100 to $130 Canadian just for that chunk of aluminum. Now, the Canovo heater, on the other hand, is only going to be about $50. So it's not that expensive. But when you start layering stuff and you put on your PEI and your flex plate and all of the other stuff, your bed now goes up to about $250 just for the bed. Right?
Yeah, I was going to say the problem with aluminum, Canada actually has quite a big aluminum market, which is really good. We actually do manufacture our own aluminum up here, so we don't have to deal with shipping or with import duties or anything like that. But the problem is it has to do with how aluminum is processed at a manufacturing level, and the tolerances required on a 3D printer are generally much higher than consumer grade aluminum. That's simply what it comes down to. So if you ever looked into why things are cast in metal instead of cut out of sheet presses, that's basically where the big issue is. So we've tried to find a couple places that would basically forge us a bed, and it's cost way beyond what you'd believe. And even some of the cheapest cuts now, they want like $40 to $50 for a piece of aluminum cut out, and it's still mostly imperial, so we're talking like 6 millimeters or so forth. So we're gonna have a couple of options there. Now, in regards to fasteners, I'm actually working on some bulk quantity orders. Basically, I'm trying to find a way to share the savings with you guys too, especially at a local level here, because there's nothing available locally for fasteners, for good quality fasteners here. So yeah, we got a whole bunch of stuff coming in there. It's just been hectic sourcing the bed itself. 3D Jeff there, I have to check the email there. I think Richard might have had it there, but we will see if we can address that there today for you. Mega whatever saying, pulled my dial indicator off my lathe and print up a head adapter. Honestly, I've gotten better prints with the dial through level. Yeah. So this here is a dial adapter. For those of you who haven't seen these, I think I kind of covered it last week. But you turn it on, and it starts in a negative position, and it gives you a digital reading of the height here. Once you set it in place on your hot end, you can hit the 0 button to say that's 0. And then as you move along, you can read your deviations and adjust it. But there's actually a new feature in Marlin that I haven't had a chance to even try yet, to be honest with you, that assists you with it by saying, it basically probes your bed, and then based off if you have M3, M4, M5 bolts holding up the bed, it'll tell you how many turns is required of each individual screw to make it flat, and that actually might get you just as accurate as the tramming adapter. But if you do have one of these sitting around in a shop somewhere, grab it and mount it to your hot end, even just temporarily to slide into place, and that will help you square up your bed much better. The only thing it doesn't help with is bed bowing.
Are you doing an unboxing or something?
No,
Richard?
I'm not.
You're opening your stuff.
We're listening in on their secret lives.
So this question from 3D Jeff. Yes, I got your email, 3D Jeff, and I am going to get back to you this week. This past week's just been a little bit chaotic, and we will talk about what's going on there. Maybe we can get into a private online call, and I can walk you through your problem.
Mm-hmm. So HVAC A to Z. I'm going to do the Canadian thing, so hopefully he doesn't smack me here. But what Voron are you building, Richard? We are building the Voron 2.4.
Yes, 2.4.
Yeah, so the current one on the website there, if you want to get ahead of things, go ahead to vorondesign.com and go and build out your BOM, and then follow along for the series. Fab TV, comments on low odor resins. They're great. Everything I've played with, they don't smell at all. Even in a common room where we do lots of printing, and it's actually in my kitchen right now, my resin machine's there. I've had no scent issues with resin for a long time, actually. And I think they're getting better and better.
They are getting better.
And better because
now, I don't know, maybe you guys can tell me, because I'm still working through all my old backlog here. Do you guys, have you had a resin shortage in your area? Because I know about 2 months ago, we had an issue with UV resin up here in Canada with sourcing some. I can see, let's see, eSun's got some stuff on Amazon, but not a whole lot. And they're talking about free delivery, but not saying when. So yeah, I don't know what the status is of resin availability right now. It looks like Elegoo might be back in stock. Free prime delivery, but they're not saying when. Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe shipments are on the way.
I just want to introduce you guys to what my next color will be on the Voron.
Ooh.
That with black is going to look very, very sexy.
Oh, yeah.
And yes, first and foremost, we are using Matter 3D filament for our Voron builds. And because they don't have a lot of colors, I chose this green from eSun, which is recommended by the Voron sourcing guide. eSun filament, ABS. This is the ABS Plus, so it's a little easier to print. And I gotta say, this is a gorgeous color. I absolutely love that green. What do you think, Brian?
Oh, it is gorgeous. You know, I don't think the camera even does it justice.
No,
These are very vibrant colors, and that's kind of what we're going for, is a hybrid, vibrant look there. With mine, I think it's going to be a little more traditional, a bit more of a white and black design, but we'll see as it evolves. I mean, as you can tell by me naming it "Kill Me Now," you know it's going to be a real winner.
Probably.
BLC Halifax just got some Elegoo resin. Didn't say when, but I still got it in 2 days. Oh, perfect. Yeah, because I was just looking at the restocks. Did you know Elegoo resin is now down to $45 Canadian for a 1 liter bottle?
No, I did not know that.
That's awesome. And I don't know if you guys have worked with Elegoo resins. I'm going to tell you right now, based off my experience in the past few months, I'm on the fence about water washables still. And the reason is because I've seen a lot of them cracking from improper curing, an issue I simply do not have with the traditional ones. So there's also these ABS-like resins that I've been playing with that are really, really good. I don't know, the water washable, the niche kind of wore off really quickly for me. I still use it, but I find the water washable aspect can be a bit finicky at times. Let me know what you guys think of below. Ben Brady, did you see pictures of the honeybee Voron? Yeah, we did actually. Richard and I were talking about that one the other night. Because for those of you who are kind of newer members on the channel, one of my older microphones I use here is called the Worker Bee. And I thought, oh man, that would be cool to theme this up to match the microphone. But I love yellow. I love yellow and black, but I don't know if I want my printer to look like that. I think it's going to stand out a little too much in my home aesthetic. So
I think you're wrong.
Well, no. I mean, you know what? If you guys want, I did talk with a few people actually about buying anodized aluminum, which, for those you don't know, anodizing is a process where you put metal into a chemical bath with an electrical charge, and it changes the color of the material by basically welding the dye. Sometimes it's welding dye to the material, and other times it's actually changing the electrical properties of the material on the surface to be a certain color. So you can actually get colored aluminum for your printer. And we've seen a couple neat builds in the community where they've been like baby blue and all that. I wouldn't mind getting a real vibrant yellow anodized aluminum frame. That would be pretty cool. Let me know what you think, and maybe I'll try and source something out.
Yeah, that's awesome. Any
I
more
like
questions?
that idea.
We got nothing else in here, really. I guess everybody's having just good printing days.
Starfleet color theme, Accord XTC.
Oh,
What is a Starfleet color theme? There's red, blue,
gray. It's just gray.
gold.
Well, it all depends on if you want it to be a red shirt or not.
No, because
they
they all
like that.
I could
die.
make mine red. I could make mine red for sure, because it's gonna die.
Well, good. The Voron itself, I to be perfectly honest, the reason that Brian and I are building this, and anybody who's watched the our first video on it, to be perfectly honest, we're building these because we already have a lot of printers between the two of us, but we want to build a print farm based on a reliable, easy to maintain 3D printer. And by building them ourselves and building the Voron, we know exactly what's gone into it. We know exactly what the programming is. We have full control over the size, the way that it prints, what it prints, and so on. Now, somebody made a comment to me on throughout the week about the Voron not being able to print peak. That is where you're wrong. It is perfectly designed to print peak so long as you have the right hot end and you have the right build surface. So it is capable of getting to that. With some of the higher end hot ends, you can go as 500. You can go as high as 500 degrees Celsius. Not that we'll ever be printing anything at 500 degrees Celsius, but we will be able to, with the right hot end, be able to print higher production value style plastics like PEEK and polycarbonates and things like that. So that's something that we're very much looking forward to, because we know already we've got a demand for people wanting tougher materials like nylon. People want test pieces out of nylon, and they want test pieces out of higher quality filaments. And that's part of the reason why we are with Matter 3D, because their quality of product is second to none, in my opinion. Not just because they're Canadian and not because, they are helping us with our needs for material, but at the end of the day, after comparing it to every other printing filament manufacturer out there, they are quite honest with us about what the mixtures are, how well it's done, and we get a chance to test it all. So, I'm going to tell you straight up, if it's not good, I'm going to tell you it's not good. So
yeah, that's where we got at with this. So, a little bit of history here. To our American friends, you've got domestic companies like Xyltech, and you've got a couple other manufacturers. Up here, we don't have anybody, and so it gets really, really expensive to get good quality product. And I think DeWitt will comment here. The price of Prushiment to get it into the country is only good if you're buying in volume, and many people only need maybe 1 or 2 kilos every couple of months.
Yeah.
So this is what we were looking at with a. Is to find somebody that it is worth it. And, we had to evaluate if the price point basically met the product expectations, and we found it blew it out of the water. We're finding this stuff performs, I would say, pretty darn close to Prushiment. I know that's a heck of a statement, but it's also far, far cheaper. So, and the nice thing is, and that's why we keep trying to get these discount codes for you guys. We want you to try it out. So, with this coming in at about $27 a kilo right now, they also have a 3-pack sale I just saw on the website there, so you can select 3 filaments, and I think it knocks it around to the same price there. And that $15 flat rate shipping is pretty cheap, honestly.
So Ben says, I'm naming my Voron the Outer Limits. That's a great name. Speaking of names,
amazing.
We are going to be naming ours. All of ours in our print farm will have a name. The first one that I'm building, I'm going to call it TK. And anybody who's a Star Wars fan, as I am, will know that TK is the first two letters in a stormtrooper's designation. So TK 7241 or whatever Finn's name was.
FN 2177. I think.
Yeah. So as I'm doing a black and white theme, I decided it looked like a stormtrooper, so I'm going to call it TK. And as we build them, we may do contests to have you guys name our printers. Depending on its color, we'll have you guys name our printers. What do you think about that? I hope you guys like that idea.
Choose something besides Star Wars, because my whole house is Star Wars.
I swear, if you guys call it Printy McPrintface.
Hey, if it's called Printy McPrintface, if that's the winner.
Dominic, I was just thinking about that before. It's like we're cyclically linked on that. I'm okay with Printy McPrintface.
Would you say the Voron is better or even the best printer? Being that I haven't fully used one, I think it's a better printer. I don't think we can make
that call yet. Yeah.
I think it's a better printer based on my research. Do I think it's the best printer? That is yet to be determined. But at this stage of the game, it is a much better printer because we can print faster. We can print, and I've seen some guys do this, printing at 200 millimeters per second, as opposed to the 40 or 60 millimeters that I'm printing at now, depending on what it is. So
I think, because we originally looked at the Hypercube Evolution, right, as our go-by design there, and it just didn't have enough adaptability yet. It wasn't until we kind of looked into the Voron design, really we're picking the Voron design over its printing methodology, where the bed stays static, it doesn't lift up or down, because that's going to give us the most rigidity. That's the primary reason we selected this, and based off my playing so far, I am just amazed by the structural integrity with, quite frankly, something that most of the machines that we have in our hands right now could have been fixed with about $5 in parts. So that's why we're going through this detailed build, is so you can understand why the frame is basically the most important part of your 3D printer.
All right, I just had to put the discount code in there once again because somebody was missing it.
Okay, here's a good question here. The Big Bammer. I've got an Ender 5 with the SKRE3 Mini 2 with bug 52. Recently started when I print, the screen jumps as if the selector knob is being rapidly pressed. Only happens when printing. Okay, this is an electrical insulation issue with all of these machines. Maybe try and find some nylon spacers for your LCD screen and to keep the ribbon cable away from the frame. There's no simple answer for what it is. Like with the digital ones, it causes the same issue. It's basically that the noise from the MOSFETs, especially when powering up the bed, sends a signal out that is picked up by the LCD ribbon cable and screws up the timing. And will sometimes false trigger a button press. It may corrupt the LCD look. It happens, and unfortunately there's no software fix around that because of timing issues. So it's all about making sure you keep that LCD cable as free as possible away from it. If you have some insulating tape, maybe put it around around the ribbon cable just so that it doesn't receive as much EMF. But really it's a mitigation thing, not a solution.
And finally, before we wrap things up today, because we're running over, that's okay, we started a little bit late. Chris Travis says, hopefully it prints better than a Stormtrooper's aim. We hope so, too.
Set the bar low, I like it.
Set the bar low, that's right. So we're going to try and do a number of different Vorons. We're going to build, of course, the Voron 2.4. I'm going to not right away fix my wife's little cadet printer, which you guys are all bugging me about. I am going to build her a brand new printer. And it will still have the same build volume, but she'll be able to do a heck of a lot more with it. This one that she has can only really print PLA. So I want her to be able to print other materials as well. So with that said, guys, that's the end of our show for today.
Holy smokes.
Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed, hit that join button, become a member. because every Sunday we are here giving you our experience and helping you through some of the 3D printing problems that you may be having. And we do appreciate everything that you guys do. Pierre says this was a great show. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And yeah, stay tuned for content. Make sure you are subscribed and like, because just like this week, we might randomly drop videos at our unscheduled times. So you got to be subscribed to actually see when those pop up. Give us a thumbs up. And you know what? I got a question for you guys for the week on the chat below, or if you're watching this post-mortem in the comments below, let us know how many printers you have at home. We want to know, are you looking at consolidating your designs into a single printer, or are you just have your first printer and are maybe thinking about the second one? And that will help us determine how we want to produce the content for you guys, how we want to talk about it on. Do we want to talk like you're already a printing expert, or do you want us to talk like, why do we use extrusion? Things like that. Let us know in the chat below. Yeah. And otherwise, have yourselves a great week. And you know what? I'm going to do this for once. Oh, wait.
Wait. We got one announcement to make.
Oh.
We have an announcement to make. Brian and I are doing a special Tuesday night live stream. So, we're announcing it here. This is open to everybody. We're going to do a Tuesday night live stream because it is May the 4th on Tuesday, and we have to do a little Star Warsy kind of show. So come join us. You'll be able to chat. You can ask us questions. We can be silly. We can have fun. We're going to talk about our Star Wars prints and key you in on some great stuff.
Pierre, that's a great question. What time are we doing this Tuesday?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock again?
Yeah.
Is that when Life Day starts?
I think Life Day starts, yeah.
Uh-oh.
And then it goes into the 5th. May the 5th.
Purge Day.
You mean May the 6th?
Yeah, May the 6th. May the 6th.
Yeah.
So we are going to see you guys on Tuesday night for a very special May the 4th edition of our show. And we won't be doing a Tip Tuesday this week, just because we are doing that special live stream. Okay, guys? So everybody can come and join us on Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time for our May the 4th Star Wars special. And Brian,
and until then,
take us out.
Remember, the first layer is always your foundation to a great print. Bye for now, guys.
Sexy. All right, you guys have a great weekend. We will see you on Tuesday night. There we go.